The first time the police knocked on my front door, I almost didn't answer. Not because I was afraid, because I thought they had the wrong house. I was 34 years old. I'd never been arrested, never even received a speeding ticket. I taught fourth grade at a public elementary school outside Denver, Colorado. My biggest crime was forgetting to water the plants on my porch. So when two detectives showed me a photograph of a beautiful blue two-story house and asked, "Miss Sarah Mitchell, when was the last time you visited your property in Boulder?" I laughed. "I think you have the wrong Sarah." One detective looked down at his file, then back at me. "No, ma'am. We're very sure we have the right one." He handed me a folder. Inside was a mortgage agreement, a property tax bill, insurance documents, and at the bottom of every page, my signature. Or at least, something that looked exactly like it. The detective asked one final question before my entire world changed. "If you don't own this house, who does?" I looked down at the documents again. The signature looked exactly like mine. The looping S, the way I crossed the T in Mitchell, even the tiny curve I always made under the last letter. If someone had handed me those papers without context, I would have sworn I'd signed them. "This isn't possible," I whispered. "I've never seen these documents before." The older detective introduced himself. "I'm Detective Aaron Collins. This is Detective Lisa Moreno. We're not accusing you of anything. We're trying to understand what happened." I looked at them, completely confused. "Then why are you here?" Detective Collins opened his notebook. "The mortgage hasn't been paid in 8 months. The bank has begun foreclosure proceedings. During the investigation, several financial records raised concerns." "What kind of concerns?" "The income listed on the application doesn't match your employment history." "I've been a teacher for almost 12 years. He nodded. "Exactly. The application claims you're the owner of a medical consulting company earning over $300,000 a year." I couldn't help laughing. Not because it was funny, because it was ridiculous. "I've never earned anywhere close to that." "I know." Detective Moreno leaned forward. "That's why we're here." My heart was pounding. "If I didn't buy the house, who did?" The detectives exchanged a quick glance. Then Detective Collins asked a question that felt strangely unrelated. "Do you have any siblings?" I frowned. "Yes. One younger sister." "What's her name?" "Hannah." "How close are you?" I smiled automatically. "We've always been close." Even as the words left my mouth, old memories began surfacing. Hannah borrowing my college textbooks, using my old laptop, asking if she could use my address for deliveries while she was moving. Little favors, things sisters did for each other. Nothing unusual, nothing suspicious. At least, that's what I'd always believed. After the detectives left, I called Hannah immediately. She answered on the first ring. "Hey, Sarah!" Her cheerful voice almost made me forget why I was calling. "Can we talk?" "Of course." "Is everything okay?" I hesitated, then decided to be direct. "Have you ever bought a house in Boulder?" Silence, just for a second. But I noticed it. "What?" "A house. In Boulder." "No." "Why would you ask that?" "I had detectives at my house today." Another pause. Longer this time. "They think someone used my identity to buy a property." Nothing. Not even breathing. "Hannah?" "Finally." She laughed. "That's crazy." "I know. I hope they figure it out." "So do I." Before hanging up, I asked one more question. "Have you ever signed my name to anything?" She answered so quickly it almost sounded rehearsed. "Of course not." We ended the call, but something didn't feel right. For the first time in my life, talking to my sister had made me uncomfortable. That evening, I drove to my parents' house. Friday night dinners had been our tradition for years. Mom hugged me the moment I walked through the door. You look exhausted. I've had a strange day. Dad looked up from the grill. What happened? I told them everything. The detectives, the mortgage, the mysterious house, the forged signature. When I finished, neither of them spoke. Instead, they looked at each other. Just for a moment. It was subtle. Most people would have missed it. I didn't. My stomach tightened. What? Dad quickly looked away. What do you mean? That look. What look? The one you both just gave each other. Mom forced a smile. You're imagining things. No, I'm not. The room suddenly felt tense. Is there something you're not telling me? Dad cleared his throat. Sarah, it's probably nothing. What is? He rubbed the back of his neck. A few years ago, Hannah asked us to witness some paperwork. My heart skipped a beat. What paperwork? We don't know. She said it was for a mortgage application. I froze. A mortgage? Mom nodded. She said you were too busy to come. I stared at them. What? Dad continued carefully. She already had the documents. She just needed witnesses. I could barely breathe. Did you see me sign them? Neither of them answered. I already knew why. Because they hadn't. Mom's eyes slowly filled with tears. Oh, Sarah? You assumed what? That she'd already gotten your permission. I felt the room begin to spin. You watched her bring papers with my name on them and never once asked me about it? Dad looked completely devastated. We trusted her. I closed my eyes. The detective's question echoed in my head. If you don't own this house, who does? For the first time, I wasn't wondering anymore. I was terrified I already knew the answer. I couldn't sleep that night, not because I was afraid, because every memory involving Hannah suddenly felt different. It was as if someone had taken my entire childhood, held it up to the light, and revealed cracks I had never noticed before. Hannah had always been the adventurous one, the charming one, the one who could talk her way out of almost anything. If she forgot her wallet, someone else paid. If she missed rent, my parents covered it. If she quit another job, there was always an explanation. She's just finding herself. She'll settle down eventually. I used to defend her. Everyone deserves another chance. Looking back, maybe she'd simply been given too many. The next morning, I called Detective Collins. I need to tell you something. He listened without interrupting as I explained what my parents had told me. When I finished, he was quiet for a moment. Ms. Mitchell, would you be willing to come to the station? Today? If possible. We've uncovered something else. An hour later, I sat across from him in a small interview room. He slid another folder toward me. I need you to look at these. Inside were copies of identification documents, a driver's license, a social security application, tax records. Every document had my name, my birthday, my social security number, but the photograph was Hannah. I felt the blood drain from my face. How is this possible? Detective Moreno answered. Someone applied for replacement identification several years ago, using your information. They substituted a different photograph. I stared at the fake driver's license. She had been walking around, pretending to be me, for years. I don't understand. Why would she do this? Detective Collins folded his hands. Because your credit was excellent. I looked at him. What? You've never missed a loan payment. No credit card defaults. Stable employment. Good income. You were the perfect identity. I shook my head. This can't be real. I'm afraid it is. He turned another page. The mortgage company believed they were lending money to Sarah Mitchell. But they weren't. They were lending it to someone pretending to be Sarah Mitchell. I drove straight to Hannah's apartment. For the first time in my life, I didn't call first. I knocked. No answer. I knocked again. Still nothing. Then the apartment manager stepped outside. Looking for Hannah? Yes. He frowned. She moved. My stomach tightened. When? About 3 weeks ago. Did she leave a forwarding address? No. She said she was relocating for work. What kind of work? He shrugged. No idea. I thanked him and walked back to my car. She was gone. That evening, my parents came to my house. Mom was crying before I even opened the door. I'm so sorry. Dad looked completely defeated. We had no idea. I believed them. That somehow made it worse. Mom sat on my couch twisting a tissue in her hands. She called us yesterday. My heart skipped. What did she say? She said not to answer any questions. Dad looked ashamed. She told us everything would be okay. I frowned. Did she admit it? Neither of them answered immediately. Finally, Dad whispered, "She said she only borrowed your identity." I almost laughed. Borrowed, as if identity were a lawnmower or a cup of sugar. She ruined my credit. She committed fraud. She lied for years. Mom nodded through tears. I know. 3 days later, my phone rang. Unknown number, I answered. Hello? For several seconds, there was only breathing. Then, hi, Sarah. My entire body froze. Hannah? I'm sorry. Where are you? I can't tell you. Hannah, the police are looking for you. I know. Then turn yourself in. Silence. I never meant for it to get this far. I closed my eyes. Then how far did you mean for it to go? She didn't answer. Instead, she quietly said, You remember when you signed those scholarship papers after college? Yes. There were 3 extra pages. My heart started racing. What? I slipped them underneath. You signed everything without reading. I felt sick. No, école. You forged the rest later. I only needed your real signature once. Tears filled my eyes. All those years. I'd blame myself for trusting too much. But this had started with a deliberate plan, one she'd been building for years. Hannah. Why me? Her answer broke my heart. Because I knew you'd never suspect me. The line went dead. I lowered the phone slowly. Some betrayals happen because people hate you. Others happen because they know exactly how much you love them. And somehow, those are the ones that hurt the most. The next morning, I gave Detective Collins everything. The phone number Hannah had called from. The exact time of the call. Every word I could remember. He listened carefully without interrupting. When I finished, he closed his notebook. She made one mistake. What? She called you. I don't understand. People think using a prepaid phone makes them impossible to trace. It doesn't. Not always. For the first time in weeks, I felt like the truth was finally catching up with her. Nearly a month passed. Life settled into an uncomfortable routine. Every morning I taught my 4th grade students. Every afternoon I answered questions from investigators, banks, and insurance companies. Every evening, I wondered how my own sister had managed to live 2 completely different lives. One Friday afternoon, Detective Collins called. Sarah, we found her. I stopped breathing. Where? Phoenix. She was trying to close on another property. My knees nearly gave out. Another one? He sighed. You weren't the only victim. Those words hit harder than I expected. There were others? We've identified 3 additional identities she attempted to use. I sat down slowly. So, it wasn't just desperation? No, it had become a pattern. The trial began 6 months later. I hadn't seen Hannah since the phone call, when deputies escorted her into the courtroom. She looked nothing like the confident younger sister I remembered. Her hair was shorter. Her shoulders slumped. She avoided looking at me. Our parents sat between us. Mom quietly cried into a tissue before the hearing even began. Dad stared straight ahead. He looked like a man carrying a weight too heavy to describe. The prosecutor stood before the jury. This case is not about one forged document. It is not about one mortgage. It is about years of calculated deception. One by one, witnesses testified. The bank manager, the loan officer, the handwriting expert, the investigator who explained how Hannah had created false identification using my personal information. Every piece fit together, like a puzzle I had never wanted to solve. Then, I was called to testify. I walked to the witness stand, raised my right hand, swore to tell the truth. The prosecutor smiled gently. "Ms. Mitchell, can you tell the jury how you discovered this?" I took a slow breath. It started with a knock on my front door. For the next 30 minutes, I told the story. The detectives, the fake mortgage, the county records, the phone call, the moment Hannah admitted she chose me because she believed I would never suspect her. When I finished, the courtroom was completely silent. Then Hannah's attorney stood. "Ms. Mitchell, you love your sister, don't you?" I looked toward Hannah. She still hadn't looked at me. "I did." He frowned slightly. "Did?" I nodded. "I'll always love the little girl I grew up with. The one who used to leave half her Halloween candy on my bed because she knew peanut butter cups were my favorite. The one who cried when I left for college. The one who promised we'd always protect each other." I paused. "But I don't recognize the woman sitting over there today." For the first time, Hannah looked up. Our eyes met. She started crying. So did I. The jury found Hannah guilty on multiple counts of identity theft, bank fraud, forgery, and financial fraud. Before sentencing, the judge asked if anyone wished to make a victim impact statement. I stood once more. Not because I wanted revenge, because I wanted the truth to be heard. I looked directly at Hannah. "You didn't just steal my name. You stole years of peace. You made me question every memory we shared. You made me wonder whether every hug, every birthday, every I love you had been real." I wiped away a tear. "But you know what hurts the most?" She slowly raised her head. "I would have helped you." The courtroom became silent. "If you had come to me and said you were drowning, I would have worked a second job. I would have opened my home. I would have stood beside you. You didn't lose your sister because you needed help. You lost your sister because you chose deception instead of honesty." Hannah broke down crying. She tried to speak. "I'm sorry." It was the first apology I'd heard from her. And somehow, it came years too late. The judge sentenced Hannah to prison and ordered restitution. I knew I would probably never recover all the financial damage. Some losses can't be measured in dollars. Trust is one of them. Almost 2 years later, my credit had finally been restored. The fraudulent mortgage had been removed from my record. The bank sent me a letter confirming that I bore no legal responsibility for the debt. I framed that letter, not because it erased what happened, but because it reminded me that the truth had finally won. Every Christmas, I still visit my parents. There's one less chair at the dinner table now. No one talks much about Hannah. Sometimes healing isn't about pretending the past never happened. It's about learning how to carry it without letting it define your future. People often ask me if I ever forgave my sister. The answer surprises them. Yes, I forgave her. Not because she earned it, not because she asked for it, but because I refused to let her betrayal become the permanent author of my story. Forgiveness didn't give her back my trust. It gave me back my peace, and that's something no one can ever steal. Thank you for listening to Hidden Truth Chronicles. If this story moved you, subscribe for more original stories of betrayal, resilience, family, and the hidden truths that eventually come to light. Until next time, remember, the strongest foundation you can build isn't on perfect people, it's on honesty.